Good evening, gentlemen. We are back. Page Kuf Yud Daled. Okay, so actually we're almost finished this Hagdama. We almost finished. So we were okay. So we were talking. All right. We're talking about Moichin and Midas. Moichin being the top 3 of the spheres, and the Midas being the bottom 7. That's what we were talking about. Okay, so and we were speaking about the days of the week. So today we are almost finished this parak or Hakdama, Kuf Yud Daled. So we're at the bottom, the second last paragraph from the bottom. Va'al zeh roimzim ha'eser etzbois shebeshtei ha'yadayim. Okay, so what we had said was that we had said that there are 10 spheres, and 5 of them are masculine and 5 are feminine, which means 5 are basically are on the right or lean to the right, and the other 5 are either on the left or lean to the left. And we call them 5 chesadim are the ones on the right, and 5 gvuras are the ones on the left. Chesed being flow, and gvura being a boundary. So what he says now is, so it is not by coincidence. Nothing on the human body is by coincidence. Everything on the human body is a reflection of something very, very high up. Though again, we always say that there's no chas v'shalom, there's no gashmias up there, there's no physicality up there. But once things, very spiritual things, end up coming down to this world, so they take form in a certain way. And in that way, it's a reflection, but it's only a reflection. It's not actually something physical up there, chas v'shalom. So what we're saying is, it's not by coincidence that on the human body there are 2 hands, and each hand has 5 fingers. That is not a coincidence. There's a reason for that. And one of the reasons for that is that the 10 fingers on the 2 hands represent the right hand. There's 5 fingers on the right hand. So the right hand represents the right side. So you have 5 spheres that are quote-unquote masculine or mashpia or flow. And then you have on the left hand another 5 fingers that represent feminine or boundary. Correct. HaChamesh etzboi shebiyad yamin, the 5 fingers that are on the right side, roimzin la'chamisha chasadim, are a remez to the 5 chasadim, the 5 spheres that are flow. The HaChamesh etzboi shebiyad smol, roimzin la'chamisha gevuros. And the 5 fingers on the left hand is a remez, is a hint to the 5 gevuros. But this is why, again, it's one reason, but there are probably many reasons. This is one basic reason why we look like this, why we have 5 fingers on the right hand and 5 fingers on the left hand. V'yesh la'adam lahagbir tamid yad hayamin al hasmol. Now there's a strong inyan that you should always have the right hand higher than the left. I don't mean always. He's going to explain. Kedei lahagbir hachamisha chasadim ala chamisha gevuros. Now, what we're always trying to do is we always want a situation that there's more chesed than din. Okay, that's always, yes, din is necessary. We've spoken about that many times. But we always want a situation when there's more flow, there's more chesed coming down, and the boundaries are less. Not the opposite, chas v'shalom. So what he says is there's an inyan that the right hand, because the right hand represents the 5 spheres in the chesed group, or the flow group, or the ahava group, the group of love, and the other 5 represent din or boundary, or stopping. So there's an inyan that the fingers on the right should be higher than the 5 fingers on the left. This kalya smola biyamina, in order that the left should be included in the right. In other words, not that they should stay separate, but actually the left should be influenced more by the right, and therefore you'll have less din and more chesed. That's what he means by this, the left being included in the right, not the right being included in the left. Now actually this is interesting. He says specifically that the right hand should be on top of the left hand when we daven. Now actually the Beis Yosef brings this down in halacha, that when a person davens, his hand should be on his heart, like this, and like I'm doing now, like the right over the left. Now you usually don't see people doing it. Maybe the Sephardim do it more, I'm not sure. By us, in the Ashkenazic circles, you usually don't see people davening like this, but sometimes you will see people, I have seen people daven like this. I have seen, with down, lower down, the right over left, but dafka right over left, not left over right. The Chein yesh lehagbi. I'm not saying that you should do it or shouldn't. There's such an inyan to do it. I'm not telling you that if it looks strange in shul, I'm not telling you to do something that looks strange. If you can do it, and you can get away with it, and it doesn't look strange, and you're comfortable with it, then this is an inyan to do it. The Chein yesh lehagbi aksas yada yamin al yada small b'mitzvahs netilas yadayim. There's also an inyan that anytime you wash Netilas Yadayim, when you make a bracha on Netilas Yadayim, and then there's a thing that you raise your hands, right? If you look, you'll see in halacha you're supposed to raise up your hands. The right hand is supposed to be raised higher than the left hand for this reason, because we are trying to. We're not just showing; it's not just symbolic. When you do this, because your fingers represent what they represent, the 5 chsadim and the 5 guras, you actually are doing something, you're accomplishing something when you lift up your hands in a mitzvah and the right is higher than the left. It's not symbolic, you're doing something, you're doing a spiritual thing. Turn the page to Kuf Tes Zayin. He says, and other mitzvahs that you do with your hands, there's an inyan that the right should be higher than the left. And when you do this, you will accomplish sweetening of the judgments. That's an expression which means that if there's din, we want the din to be, there has to be din, there has to be judgments, there has to be boundaries, but we want it to be sweetened. We want there to be more flow, more ahava, more love coming, more hashpa coming than what we're limiting. So that's called hamtakas hadinim in this farm. That means sweetening of the judgments. So ubazeh yigroim, if you'll put your right hand higher than your left, you will accomplish hamtakas hadinim, sweetening of the judgments, the hamshachas shefa kodesh me'ela lesata, and to draw down a holy flow from on high to down low. And that concludes this perek. Hagdama Zayin, Tiferes Umalchus. So we're reading now on the left side. Boy yizbar ha'eich yischalku ha'eser sviras l'shloisha. Now we're gonna do what he's showing you now is that there's many different ways. There are 10 spheres, but there's many different ways to group them, and grouping them in different ways will bring out their different spiritual qualities. So, boy yizbar ha'eich yischalku ha'eser sviras l'shloisha. We're going to see how the Eser spheres are divided into 3 groups: Aleph Moichen, Beis Tiferes, Gimel Malchus, V'gam al derech Gimel Kavim, and also in a way of 3 lines or columns. Aleph Yemin, Beis Small, Gimel Emsa, right, left, and center. V'inyan Hanakudois V'gavanin, and we're also going to speak about the different Nakudois that go with each sphera. He's going to explain that. And Gavanin, and the colors of each sphera. Hashayachim l'chol sphera that are go according to each sphera. Okay, turn the page. Kuf Yud Tes Tiferes Umalchus. Achar shenizbar. Now that we have explained she'eser spheres nechlakim l'shnayim, We already just explained that the spheres are divided into two. Shem moichin kachab. The top three are one group. Umidus, and then you have the bottom seven, which is chagas nehim, right? That's acronym for all the spheres. Namshech ata levar eich nechlakim es spheres l'shloisha bechinois. Now, we've already talked about how we divide them into 2, 3, and 7. The two groups is 3 and 7. Now we're going to talk about dividing them into 3 groups. Vehu, that is, ayidei shenechlak gam es hasheva midois tachtoinois lebeis bechinois. So the 3 on the top will stay the same. Those are called moichin. That's keser chachma bina. But now, until now, we had a group. The second group was all 7 together. Now he's going to divide the second group. So the top 6 are going to be called Tiferes, and he gives an example, which is Chagas Nehi, which is Tiferes, Chesed, Gvura, Netzach, Yesoid. That's all going to be called Tiferes. Now, why? Only one. There's 6 of them. Only one of them is called Tiferes. So why are we calling the whole group Tiferes? He's going to explain that. And base Malchus, and then the last sphere of the 10th is going to be in its own category on its own, called Malchus. So now we're dividing into 3: the top 3, the next 6, and the final one. Ki shisha mehazayin tachtoinois, because 6 out of the 7 lower spheres, shehem spheres, chesed, gvura, tiferes, netzach, hoid, yesoid, which are the spheres of chesed, gvura, tiferes, netzach, hoid, yesoid, nasan behem HaKadosh Baruch Hu koyach lehashpia, v'nikroim bechinas dechura. These bottom 6, besides Malchus, Hashem has given these 6 the power to give over, or to be mashpia, or to influence. V'nikroim bechinas dechura. This is a Aramaic word which means masculine. Zachar. A lot of times in Aramish, the dalids, the zayin in Lashon Kodesh can change to a dalid. So Zachar is in Aramish, in Aramaic, is dechura, which means male. Kedugmas habal hamashpia leishtoi. So he's going to say that what he says now is that we can now look at we have the bottom 7 spheres. We can look at the top 6 of the 7. Chesed, Gvura, Tiferes, Netzach, Hod, Yesod. We can look at them as masculine and being mashpia, giving over. Now, I want to pause now. A lot of people get very confused, and it's understandable. You have to be, when you're learning Panemius and Chassidish Svarim, you have to have an open mind to understand that different bechinas will play out in different situations. What do I mean? Until now, we had said that there's 3 columns, right? So we said the columns on the right, which is going to be chesed and netz. One second is well, it starts higher. Let's say chachma, chesed, and netzach. Those are all on the right side, male. But then we said that on the left side you have a line which is bina and gevura and hod, and we said that those are female, or those are ones that accept, or those are boundaries. Now he just turned it around. Now he's saying chesed, gvura, tiferes, netzach, hod, yesoid. They are all now considered in one group that is giving over. So some people can get very confused. I don't understand. Till now we said, for instance, that gvura and hod are feminine, and they accept. They don't give, they accept. But now we're saying, no, all 6 of them give. So now you could be confused, and you could say, I don't understand. We had said already that gvura and netzach and gvura and hod are female. Now we're saying they're male. They're like male. They give over. So what's going on? The answer is, it's very important to understand that depending on the context, things will change. In other words, I'll give you a perfect example of this. I am a husband. Okay, so I'm a shpia to my wife. I'm a shpia to my wife because I'm the guy that goes, I'm actually a real estate agent. So I go out, I try to do a deal. When I do a deal, in Yetz Hashem, I make some money. I bring money into the house. So I'm a shpia to the house. I bring the money into the house. My wife takes that money and buys groceries and does what she needs with that money. Also, so I'm the mashpia, she's the makabel, okay? Also with my children, so I'm the mashpia, right? I try to be a good example to my children. I teach my children. I try to be a role model to my children. So I'm the mashpia, right? And even, you could even say the grandchildren. However, let's say my Rav, who I go to, or my tzaddik that I go to, so then if I'm next to him, so he is a mashpia, and I'm the makabel, right? He's giving to me, and I'm accepting. And this will always, so you can never say, oh, Yecheskel Zion's is a husband, so he's always being the mashpia, he's always giving, and he's not accepting. It's not true. Because in that way, yes, but if you'll put me next to my Rav, or you'll put me next to the tzaddik that I go to, or you'll put me next to someone I learn Torah from, so then I become the acceptor, and they become, they are the people that are giving. Oh, hi, welcome. Even husband and wife, sometimes a wife has to encourage her husband, right? She does encourage her husband. So in a situation where a wife is encouraging her husband, so now the wife is giving the hashpah, and the husband is accepting the encouragement, right? So that's what I'm trying to explain. You cannot be very black and white when you're learning this limit. You have to be it's called erechen. You have to be, what's the word? Perspective. Thank you. It always depends on the context and the perspective. So just keep that in mind. Okay. So again, getting back to the point. So we said now Chesed, Gvura, Tiferes, Netzach, Hod, Yesod are now going to be viewed as a group that the six of them together are going to be being mashpia. They're going to give over shefa, give over power and ruchnius and good things. And that's going to be called Tiferes. He's going to explain soon. Aval hasfira shvius, but the seventh sfira, or if you're counting from the top, the 10th, shehi hamalchus. Excuse me, that is Malchus. He rak mekabelis. Malchus is always a sphera that only accepts. Let's just say, basically, that's the function of that sphera of Malchus. It doesn't give over, it accepts. In this context, v'nikreis bechinas nukva, and that is called nukva, which means female. Kedugmas, as an example, ha'isha she'ein la shum davar ma'atzma, a woman that has nothing on her own. Now, what he means by that, what does that mean? A woman has nothing. A woman has a lot of koiches and power and a lot to contribute. What he means here is, in the classic example of husband and wife going back thousands of years, the classic example is that the husband goes out to work and he brings home the money and she runs the house with that money. That's the classic example. So the classic example of the relationship between husband and wife is that he's the mashpia and she accepts. Okay, again, we should not be taking this in it doesn't mean that a woman has nothing to offer. Chas v'shalom doesn't mean that at all. In Chazal, you're going to see that in many oifanim, in many ways, women are way ahead of men, way ahead. So it only means in this classic example of the man going out to make the money, and he gives the wife, and the wife runs the house. That's what he means here by this statement. Rak mekabel. So in this example, the woman is rak mekabelas kol hashpa'asa mibala. The woman is the one who accepts the hashpa, the giving of her husband, or what her husband has to give, she accepts. V'lachein, therefore, nikras sviras malchus dalavania. We call the sphere of malchus poor. It's poor. In other words, the opposite of rich. It doesn't have anything on its own. Kivan deleis la migarma klum. This is a very famous expression in Chassidus Sfarim and Panemius, that Malchus has nothing on her own. She is only a gathering, she only gathers what is given to her. but on her own she really doesn't have anything. That is a description of the sphere of Malchus. Chein, turn the page. She'ein la shum or v'koyach me'atzma. She has no light or power of her own. This is the nature. It's interesting that all 10 spheres, let's say like this, all 9 spheres have their own specific powers, but Malchus does not have a power. Malchus is considered empty or poor, and whatever flows into her from the above 9, that will be what she is. Rak masha mekabeles, that's what he says here. Rak masha mekabeles, she is only what she accepts, mea spherois halyonis, from the upper 9 spheres. V'hi mekabeles hashpa'asa lo elam hazeh, and she accepts the flow to this world. Kedimyan ha'isha mechalekes levaneha ma shekibla mibala. Like a woman, like the classic example, the man goes out to work, he brings home the money, and the woman takes some money, and the woman takes that money and she buys clothing and she prepares food and she does whatever she has to do for her children. So that example, the reason, let's put it this way, the reason why the family is made up this way and the reason why that is the woman's role in the family is because there's something higher happening. The something higher happening is there's something called Malchus, and when the hashpah goes down from Kesser all the way down to the 9 spheres into Malchus, then Malchus is the part of our spirituality that gives over to our world. So once it hits Malchus, it's divided to us, and that is this mashal, and that is why the parable, that is why a woman, that's why it is this way. That's why the reason why there is a husband who gives over to the wife, who gives over to the children, is because there's these 6 spheres working together that give over to Malchus. And then Malchus gives the spirituality over to this world. That's how this works. Besoida pasuk, what is the remez in the pasuk to this? It says in Mishlei, Eishes chal miyimtza, we say it every Friday night, the goymer, etc. Vatiten teref levesa v'goymer. It says in Eishes chal, she gives food to her house. So that is the mashal is a woman who gives food to her house, but the nimshal, what's really going on is the 6 spheres give over to Malchus, and Malchus gives it over the spirituality to the world. Next page. The Elu Hashisha Sfiras Nikroim al Shem HaTiferes. Now, the 6 spheres are Chesed, Gvura, Tiferes, Netzach, Yesoid. So Tiferes is only number 3 of the 6. But we're now going to call this group of 6, the Sphira of Tiferes is going to be the encompassing Sphira of these 6. So we're going to call the group, we can also call the group of 6 Tiferes. That's what he's saying here. Ki Sphiras Tiferes roimiz al haguf. Now, if you're going to go physically to a person's body, so we said Chesed is right arm, Gvura is left arm, Tiferes is the trunk, and then you have Netzach is right leg, Hod is left leg, Yesod is the person's organ. So Tiferes represents the trunk or the goof or the body. So that's why if you're going to look at these 6 in a group, the one that connects, that everything's connected to and is the central part is the trunk of the body. That's going to and that is the Tiferes. So that's why we're going to call all 6 under the general name of Tiferes. That's what he's saying here. Ukamoy shaguf hu ke'ein amud ha'emsoi bein hayadayim haraglayim. The same way that the body is the central pillar in the middle between the 2 hands and the 2 feet, the kulam niksharim ba, and all of the limbs, the hands and feet, are connected to it. Chein, so too, hu sviras tiferes. Ha'amud ha'emsai, so too is the sphira of Tiferes, which is the middle pillar. Shekol ha'chamesh svirois All the 5 Sfiros, Chesed, Gvura, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, Mekusharim Ba, are connected to it. V'lachein, Nikra'u kol hashesh Sfiros al shem haTiferes. And therefore, all these, in this way that we're looking at these Sfiros, these 6 are all called by the name of Tiferes. Ve'elu ashisha Sfiros, B'yachad nikru gam b'shem shisha kitzavois. So this is interesting. Now he's going to give you another name for this group of 6 spheres, and that is the 6 directions. And as a matter of fact, the reason why down in this world there are 6 directions, which are basically north, south, east, west, up, down, like a cube. So the reason that there are these 6 sides or these 6 directions is because up in Shemaim there are 6 spheres. That is, these 6 spheres, when they come down to this world, will gel as 6 directions. Kivan shebiyachad hema nechshavim keguf echad balas hashisha ketzavois. When these 6 spheres are down here, they're going to be considered like a human body, and a human body has 6 sides because it has left, right, up, down, forward, backward, right? It's a 3-dimensional object. Ve'im Chein, in other words, the reason why this world is a 3-dimensional world is because we have these 6 spheres in Shemaim. Ve'im kol ze yesh b'chol svira mehen mida v'ashba meyuchades ma she'ein kein be'asheni. So he says like this. He says these 6 all have their own powers, but in Malchus it's not that way. V'sugei ha'ashba v'hanhaga shel elu asfiras hem hefeichim im menagdim zelazeh kemoi chesed shebiyamin ikenegdoi gvura shebesmol. So he says like this. He didn't mean, when I said shit, he didn't mean against Malchus. I have to correct myself. He says these 6 spheres will all have things in them that the other one doesn't have. They all have their 6 powers. So he says, for instance, Chesed is on the right side, and Gvura is on the left side. That's why, because if you'll look at these 6, you're going to see that there's 2 on this side, 2 on this side, and 2 in the middle. That's why we call them the 6 directions. For instance, it parallels the 6 directions of the world, which are Mizrach, east, Marav, west, Imarav, west, Doroim is south, Vetzafai, north, Mala means up, and Mata, down. Shekol tzad hu hepech hamuflag mitzad ha'acher. Each one of these are going to be the opposite of the other one. Since what we said now is the top 6 are like a man, and the Malchus, the bottom 7th one, is like the woman. Lechein Sfiras Tiferes shehi bechinas dochar hamashpia imetiv mikoichoi yesh by midas ahava. So we're going to call these 6 in this way that we're looking at them. Dochar is male. That's the Aramaic word for male. And the midah, what they're going to express is ahava, is love. Because male is always an expression, we call that an expression of giving or flow or love. Ki hahispashtus lehanik lashpia tuva lezulasa nimshach memidas ahava. The male power or characteristic is to give over, to be mashpia, to flow to the next person or to his wife. So this midah is called ahava, love. That's what love always means. Love always means giving over good to the other person. That's what love means. The nirmaz bepasuk in Tehillim is, so the remez to this, there's a pasuk in Tehillim that says Zachar Chasdoi. So in Tehillim, it's talking about Hashem remembers his chesed, but what this means according to the higher meaning is Zachar is Chasdoi. The male is chesed. Male represents chesed. That's what the higher meaning of this pasuk is. Zachar bechinas dachar. Zachar is the bechina of male. Mashpia, it gives over, it flows over al yedei bechinas chastoi, through the bechina, the characteristic of chesed, of its chesed, its love. V'zeh midas ahava. Chesed is actually kindness. V'zeh midas ahava. This is the characteristic of love. Ki al yedei ha'ahava yoredes hashpa. Through love, that's where hashpa, that's where flow comes down. The Sifsei Malchus, next page. The Sifsei Malchus, she bechinas nukva, which is the bechina of female. Hamakubeles es hashefa. The female Malchus accepts this, the flow that's coming from the 6 spheres above her. So the flow is coming down. Malchus accepts that flow. The yesh midas yira. Now, any time, excuse me, that we have someone accepting or becoming the vessel for the blessing to come into, that's going to be called yira, fear. So when we're giving over, that's called ahava, love. When we're accepting, that's called fear, because fear always means boundary. Fear means you can't come too close. You're afraid. That means boundary. That's so fear and boundary is considered like one thing, and love and flow is considered another thing. So Malchus is considered the kli, the vessel that contains everything, that accepts everything. The nirmaz b'pasuk. So where do we have a remez in the pasuk to Malchus? Isha yiras Hashem. So it says again in Mishlei, when we're saying the Eishes Chayil that we sing Friday night. So it says Isha yiras Hashem. It says a woman fears God. The woman that we're talking about in Eishes Chayil is a woman who fears Hashem. So we see here that Isha, which is the female aspect, is yira, is the characteristic of yira, of fearing. That's the higher meaning of what this pasuk means. Isha shehi nukva, which is female, hamakubeles, she accepts, umetsamsen es hashefa besoicha. She condenses all the, when shefa comes down, it has to be caught. If you don't catch the flow, then the flow goes to waste. There has to be a vessel to catch the flow coming down. So Malchus is that vessel, and the characteristic of that is the woman. The woman represents the vessel that catches the flow. Va'al yedei hayira yecholim lekabel hashefa lagbia b'seich kli. Through fear of Hashem, you are able to catch the flow that's coming down, and you can put it into a vessel. Just as it's impossible to catch anything if you don't have a vessel, the bigger your vessel is, the more you will be able to catch. Kach ein ha'adam yachol lekabel shum hashpa min hashamayim beli yira. So too, a person will not be able to catch or capture any of the flow coming from above without fear of Hashem. Ikafi goydel yirasoy ken yizke laha'aras hel yoina beyoiser. According to how great his fear of Hashem is, that is how much he flow or hashba he will be able to accept from Hashem. So a person's fear of Hashem creates the vessel that a person can capture the flow or accept the flow coming from up high. Ukemoi shekeshe'echad roitze la'ashpia la'asheni mechachmasoi oi azai muchrach sheyakdim his koishishus hamakabel. So there's a general rule that if one person wants to give over to another person, the other person has to want to accept. So the example he gives here is somebody wants to give over their knowledge to somebody else. If the other person is not interested, then he won't be able to give it over. The person that wants to accept the knowledge has to have his koishishus. That means he has to have a longing or a desire to get the knowledge. If there's no longing or desire on the accepting person's side, he won't be able to get anything. Chein, kesheroitza adam lahalois b'malois avodas haboyer yisborach, turn the page. So too, when a person wants to go up in levels of avodas Hashem, tzarech lahakdim ilas oira beyira v'hiskoishishus. If a person wants to go up in levels of avodas Hashem to work to become a holier person, he needs the beginning that he has to start with is he has to awaken beyira v'hiskoishishus. He has to awaken his yira shemaim, his fear of Hashem, and his koishishus and his desire. Shehi ha'ara sfiras malchus. This means in a person's existence or in a person's soul, he is activating his sphera of malchus. Because a person's sphere of malchus is his ability to accept. The hainu lekabel alav ol malchusoi yizburach beyira v'fachad. And that's why it's not by coincidence that when we want to accept upon ourselves Hashem's kingship, we call that to be makabel ol malchus shemayim. We're accepting upon ourselves the yoke of Hashem's kingdom. It's not by accident that this is called Malchus, Hashem's kingdom or kingship. The last sphera that allows us to do this is called Malchus, and that is in our neshamas. V'zeh hashar la'Hashem. The hainu lekabel alav ol malchus shemayim ol malchuso yizborach b'yira v'fachad. That a person is accepting upon himself the yoke of Hashem's kingdom with yira and fachad, with fear, two expressions of fear. The fear of Hashem. V'zeh hashar la'Hashem likanes l'shar hamelech. This is the gateway to come into the gate of the king. The gate is fear. You have to have fear of Hashem. If you want to grow in Yiddishkeit, you have to have fear of Hashem.
I'm assuming, if you don't mind, you're talking at the low level of fear, just pure, I'm afraid of punishment.
So it's a very good point. So the lowest level of fear is, like you said, afraid of punishment. No, but the more that fear, there's another fear is just right. Like you're not afraid of it's not so much the punishment. It's like, oh my gosh, how can I do something that Hashem said I can't do? Hashem is so great. Hashem is so powerful. Hashem has done so much for me. How could I ever think to do an aveira, a sin, something I shouldn't do? That's a higher level. Right. But all of it, correct. All of this, it usually, the way we have to start by ourselves, and especially our children, is the low level of there'll be a punishment if you don't do what you're supposed to do. But as you mature in avodas Hashem, you're supposed to try to get to that level of Hashem is so great. How could I? How could I do something wrong? Correct. V'az yesayehu loy min hashamayim sheyushpa loy gam bechinas ahavas Hashem. So he says, Hashem is always trying to give us ahavas Hashem, love. But in order to accept that love, whatever he's trying to give, the first level is yira, is fear of Hashem. If we can build our fear of Hashem, we're building a vessel, and the love of Hashem will come into that vessel, and we'll be able to handle it and use it. V'zeh shamar HaKasuv, and this is what the pasuk says. Ma Hashem lekecha sholem me'imcha ki'im liyira. So there's a very strange pasuk we have in Devarim, and the pasuk says Hashem is asking the Jewish people in this pasuk, and it says the pasuk says, what is Hashem, or Moshe Rabbeinu is asking the Jewish people, Ma Hashem alekecha sholem me'imcha ki'im liyira. What does Hashem ask of you? Only to fear Him. Now, what does that mean? Only to fear Him? There's much more than that. I mean, there's 613 mitzvahs. Yiras Hashem is just one of the 613. So what does that mean? What is Hashem asking of you? Just to fear Him. What does that mean? There's much more than that. The answer is the beli hayira I efshar le'agia l'shum madrega b'havas Hashem yisborach. What he's saying here, this means is why this pasuk is being said. What does Hashem want from you? Just to fear Him, because the whole thing is fear. If you want to grow in Yiddishkeit, the whole thing is only if you fear Him. So, in other words, if you'll get this one thing right, you'll get everything. If a person can get Yiras Shamayim right, fear of Hashem right, starting on the lower madrega level and building it up to the higher things the higher fear of Hashem, that Hashem is so great, how could I ever do something wrong to Him? So that is your way in. That is, if you can do that, you will be able to keep all the other 612 mitzvahs, and you will be able to grow immensely in Yiddishkeit. The beli hayira, because without fear, it's impossible to get to any level in love of Hashem Yisborach. Ke'amram Zal, like the Chazal said, like a rabbi said, Darkoi shel ish. Now, so the Chazal say an interesting statement, which at face value means Darkoi shel ish. The Hainu Sfiras HaTiferes, she midas ahava, lachzor achar isha, Hainu Sfiras Malchus, she midas hayira. Okay. What Chazal really said is that it is the way of the world that it's the man that finds the woman. That's the way, whatever that means. The way of the world is, it's not really the woman that goes seeking for the man. It's more the man that goes seeking for the woman. The truth is today, it's a whole different system. It's a shidduch system. It's different. But classically, and the way the Chazal say it, the way the rabbis say it is, the man goes out to try to find his wife. That's how it. Again, the parallel to this is that Adam, the first man, is created as a man, and then he has to find his wife. So whether the Chazal say that they were created back to back and she had to be separated, but he has to find her. She's created from his rib, whatever it means. It's first him, and then he has to find her. That's the classic example. But he says he's going to say a higher meaning of what this means, that the way of the man is to find the woman. What does it mean in a higher explanation? So he says, Darkoi shel ish, haini sfiras tiferes. Ish, man or male, is now we're going to say that is referring to these top 6 spheres that we were talking about. Tiferes, which is called under the general rule of general title of Tiferes. Shumidas ahava, which is the characteristic of love, because it's giving, it's hashpah, it's flow. His derech is lachzor achar isha, is to find the wife. What does that mean, to find the wife? Hainu sfiras malchus is the sphere of malchus, shehi midas hayira, which is the characteristic of fear. So what this means on a higher level is the derech, the way to get to love, is through fear. That's what it means. A man must seek his wife. Darkoi shel ish, the way to get to the man, means the male hashpah of love. The way to catch Hashem's love, to catch Hashem's hashpah, to catch all of the good things that Hashem wants to give us, is to go after yira, is to go after fear. It doesn't really refer to a man or a woman. It's referring to, you need your Shemayim to accept all the good things that Hashem wants to give you. Umizeh yagia, and from this Umizeh yagia, turn the page. Achar kach la'asagas hachachma shi ha'aras hamoichin. And also, through Yiras Shamayim, a person will come to hasagas hachachma. It's not just to accept from Hashem physical things, but even spiritual things and understanding the highest parts of Torah. You will be able to do this if you work on your Yiras Shamayim. Only if a person works on fear of Hashem will he be able to understand the highest parts of any parts of Torah, but certainly, especially the highest parts of Torah. Yesh oid kama kinuyim v'nifrat ketzasan. Okay, so now that we've established that there are two groups, the higher six, which are called male, which is love, and the lower sphere of malchus, which is called female, which is called fear. Now that we've established that, now he's going to give us different kinuyim. It kind of means like different names or nicknames of these two entities. You'll see what he means. Tiferes, the top six, nikra zeir anpin, are called zeir anpin. So now he's using a Kabbalistic expression that's used in the Zohar and used in the Arizal all the time, called zeir anpin. We speak in Shalashidus. We say, in the Zmiris that we sing, Shalashidus from the Arizal, Ched v'sod de zeir anpin. That's what we say by Shalashidus. So what is zeir anpin? Zeir anpin is another word in Aramaic for those top six spheres that till now we called Tiferes. Another way to call them is zeir anpin. Turn the page. Bekitzer, and if you want to say it the short form, zeir. You can call it zeir. Oy b'Rosh Tevis za. Or if you want to use a Rosh Tevis, the first letter and the last letter of the two words, it's za. Zayin Aleph. That stands for zeir anpin. So what does it mean? Anpin means a face. Zeir anpin means the small face. What does that mean, the small face? So anpin, face, roimez al ashba v'hanhaga, kemoy hanoisem matana lechaveira b'ahava, shemer loy ha'aras panav. Why is it called a face? We'll talk about what it means, a small face. But why is it called a face? When you give something to somebody, you show your face to them and you're showing a happy face or a shining face. That's when you give over anything. When you give a gift, when you give a hand, you shake somebody's hand, you say good morning, you're giving over that, you're showing the shine of your face to the other person. That's why these six masculine spheres are called anpin, are called a face. What does it mean, v'zeir? What does it mean, a small face? V'zeir. Hi lashon katan v'katzar. Zeir means small. It's an Aramaic word for small. The kavana, it means shehi hanhaga mugveles l'tzorech hatachtonim. It's called the small face because this energy or power or flow or goodness that's coming from Hashem, it can't be given to us in a full blow. It has to be minimized. It has to be minimized. So it's called a small face. It's not called a big face. A big face would be, boom, everything comes at once, very strong. We wouldn't be able to handle that. So there has to be a constriction here, and that's why it's called zeir anpin, small face. So it is a face. Hashem is giving over to us as if to say with a shining face, but it's small. It has to be small that we can handle it.
With Moshe Rabbeinu when he was a child?
Right. Ukemoy hamelech shemeir panim l'chol echad, just like a king that shows his face to everybody. B'mid mishkol kefi masav. He says, like, the king will interact with his subjects according to the subject. So it means certain people the king will give a lot to, certain people the king will give less to. That's what it means. The king will show more of his face or less of his face. It's an expression. It's a concept. Chein megia hashba me'elu ashisha midos. So too, the flow comes down from these 6 spheres. He says chagas nehi, those 6. The whole echad ve'echad to every one of us, human beings. Mugbal b'cheshbon meduyek. It's coming to us. It will come to each person with his own cheshbon, with its own accounting, with its own cheshbon. Kafi hamasim loy b'miyuchad, according to what's suitable or appropriate to him. In other words, for whatever spiritual reasons, some people will get a lot of shefa from Hashem. Some people will get less. This could have to do with things. Some people will have a lot of money. Some people will have less money. Some people have a lot of children. Some people have less children. Some people will have health. Some people, chas v'shalom, will have the opposite of that. There's no and there's no. Every person will get what's appropriate to him, and we'll never be able to understand exactly why this person is rich, this person is poor. We'll never be able to understand that. But Hashem gives to everybody what is suitable and appropriate for him, whether we understand it or not. And eventually, one day, in Yetz Hashem, we will understand. But we all have bitachon that whatever Hashem's giving us is what we need. And the truth is, just as a side point, there's no perfect package, right? Everybody might think that guy has it good, that guy's rich, or that guy has this, but there's no. It doesn't go like this, because if you'll get into the nitty gritty of everything, you're going to see that there's a lot of very wealthy people there, but there's issues there. There's health issues. There's issues with shalom bayis. There's stuff. I'm not saying chas v'shalom every wealthy person. I'm just saying the grass is always greener on the other side.
Everybody put their problems at the table.
Everyone would take their own. Yeah, very good. Everyone would take their own back. So but the bottom line is that his point here is that when Zeir Ampin is giving, when these 6 spheres, Hashem is giving through these six spheres, everyone gets what's appropriate and suitable to them, according to their neshama, according to how Hashem understands the truth. Umalchus, next page. Umalchus nikras nukva de Zeir Ampin. So now he gave us another word for Tiferes, those 6 spheres, called Zeir Ampin. And now Malchus, the last sphere, is called Nukva de Zeir Ampin, which means the female of Zeir Ampin, which means his counterpart, which means as if to say his wife, which means those 6 spheres represent what? The flow that gives, and she represents the wife or the woman or the boundaries or the container that contains it, that will accept it. Umalchus nikras nukva de Zeir Ampin. Malchus is called the female of Zeir Ampin. Ubekitzer Nuk, or the short form would be you could call her Nuk, which is how it's expressed. Kihi mekabeles, she accepts hahashpa mizeir. She accepts the flow from Zeir, from the small face. Kedimyan ha'isha mekubeles mebala, as in the parable of how a woman accepts from her husband. So that's one other way to express Tiferes and Malchus is Zeir Ampin and Nukva de Zeir Ampin. Now he gives you another way. Tiferes nikra Chama. So this is very interesting. Tiferes is called the sun. Chama means the sun. Umalchus nikras Levana. And Malchus is called the moon. So this is very interesting. Any time now when you see in Tanakh that there'll be a pasuk in Bereshis, any time in Tanakh where you will see the word Chama, the sun, this can also mean Zeir Ampin, or those 6 spheres. He's giving you now a way you can now look back through Tanakh, and anywhere where you see the word Chama, probably in a hidden way, it refers to these 6 spheres. It's the sun. Why? And Malchus is the Levana, is the moon. This is a very, very interesting. It's a very interesting mashal, because the sun is always flow. The sun is always shining. It never stops shining. and the moon is only a reflection of the sun. And not only that, but even with a woman, the cycle, the menstrual cycle of a woman is very much connected to the moon. It used to be even more connected to the moon. Like literally, like a woman would get her period according to when the moon came out and when the moon was not out. It really used to be like that. Now today, the world has changed, but even today, there's a very, very big connection between a woman and the moon, and the man and the sun. And again, the main mashal here is the sun gives over, the sun shines, and the moon receives. And the reason the moon shines is because it's a reflection of the sun. So he says, "K'moy shalavana leis la me'atzma shum or," just as the moon does not really have any light of its own, rak only masha mekabelas me'shemesh. What she only the moon only has what it accepts from the sun. Chein, so too. Ein the spheres malchus, the sphere of malchus, the last sphere, does not have anything me'atzma from its own. Me'atzma shum koyach v'hashpa. She doesn't have any power or hashpa. She doesn't give over anything. Rak masha, she does, but only rak masha me'kabelas mi mala. Only what she accepts from above. That's what she can give over, but she doesn't have anything of her own. Gimel, we're going to give another one. Tiferes nikra, turn the page. Tiferes nikra shamayim. Tiferes is called shamayim, which could be, you can translate that as the sky or the heavens. That's Tiferes. Umalchus nikras aretz, and Malchus is called aretz, or the land, or the earth, or the world. Again, now you can look through Tanakh, and any time you see Bereshis bar lakim escha shemayim v'aretz, yes, of course it refers to Shemayim, the sky, aretz, the earth. Yes, of course it refers to that. But now you know that this is a code word for Shemayim, means those six spheres. Chesed, Grura, Tiferes, Netzach, Hod, Yesod. And Aretz means Malchus. He's giving you another way to view these two words in Tanakh. And not just in Tanakh, in Chazal, anywhere, in Medrash, anywhere you're going to see these two words, Shemayim v'Aretz, or like we had before, Chama v'Levana, the sun and the moon. You will be able to refer to these spheres as well. K'moy she'ha'aretz hagashmis, just like the physical land, Eina yechoila, is not able to lehatzmiach me'atzma klum. It can't. The land itself can't sprout anything. Im lo yinosein b'soicha zera. If it won't be able to sprout anything if you don't put any seeds in it. The yered Allah aleha hageshem, and the water and the rain and it rains upon it. The earth itself cannot sprout anything without seeds and rainwater. Mina Shemayim, from heaven, rainwater from heaven. Chein hu gam b'spheres hamalchus. It's the same way, but with spheres hamalchus. The leis lami garme klum, that malchus has nothing on her own. Rak mashe nishpa v'nitan l'soicha al yedei spheres tiferes. Only what comes from the upper six is what malchus has. So that's what it means. The eretz, the earth can only bloom or have vegetation only based on what is given to it from Shemayim, from the heavens. I think we're going to stop over here because we're going to get into something else. We're going to get into the fourth one, but that's, I think we're going to stop over here. We've done basically an hour. So we'll see everybody next week. Thank you for joining.